what made you kind of get into the real estate? I mean, obviously, you had the military experience, and I'm sure, getting out, complete culture shock, right? As far as, what do I do? What can I do? Outside of your comfort zone, because I mean, you lived a certain way for 10 years.
Right.
Got in doing some restaurant stuff, and I mean, what ultimately led you to real estate, though?
A couple things. One, if I was going to work 80 hours a week, I was going to do it for myself. I wasn't going to make money for other people. I was going to make it for me. And I had that thought. I just didn't know what it was at the time. And then we had some regulars. I used to run Cooper's Hawk over at Easton. We
Yeah.
had some regulars that came in, and she knows who she is, but she would always say, "Hey, you'd be great at sales. You'd be great at sales. You'd be great at real estate." She says, "How do you know so much about houses to begin with?" And I said, my dad built houses. And I used to hear them complain about, "Oh, I had to do an open house today." And I'm like, "How long was it from?" They're like, 12 to 2. There's my Saturday. And I'm like, I was thinking, I got here at 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to leave at 9 p.m. And I actually had mentioned it to them. I said, maybe I should do the real estate. They're like, "Well, your weekends are just wasted." I'm like, "No, they're not. Like, you have no idea, because that's all you know." I knew
Right.
that, anybody that's worked in a high functioning, high volume restaurant, I mean, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. 9 p.m. was a normal day. I mean, that was my life. And I knew that my marriage could not sustain it. It's just unhealthy. I wasn't going to see my family. I wasn't going to spend time with my kids. And so I needed to do something different. The only other thing I knew in restaurants was building and some stuff about houses. I didn't know a lot, but I knew some stuff, right?
Sure.
And I'd always been told, that I could sell Tabasco to a man in the desert. So I was at a graduation party of a friend of mine, and Sue and Chip Parrish were there, and we got to chatting. And they were like, "You really should do this." And I asked them what it entailed, and they told me. That was a Sunday. And on Thursday that same week, I called Chip and said, "What do I need to do?" He said, "Well, blah, blah, blah." I said, "All right, well, what do you need? How do I get this?" And he said, "Why are you in a hurry?" I said, "Well, I quit my job today." He said, "You did what?" I said, "I quit. I'm in." He said, "Okay, here we go." And that's where it began.
So where did you pick up, you said people always said you could sell Tabasco sauce
A man in the desert.
to the man in the desert. Where do you think you got that skill from? I mean,
A guy
was it,
named George White, my grandfather.
yeah.
It was his gift. I think part of it, though, I think believe in what we do now. Um, my restaurant background plays a large portion into that, and I'm thankful for that, because I really believe we don't sell anything to anybody. We provide logistics, we provide hospitality, we provide a service. Well, restaurant is nothing but service based, and if you can read people, you can understand people, whether you're bartender, waiter, manager, whatever, you're going to be very successful at it. I did well in the restaurant industry, don't get me wrong. I mean,
Right.
it was great. I just didn't want to work 80 hours a week for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of that translates into what we do now. It's about listening. It's about understanding what people want, what they are looking for. And if not, helping them identify what it is they're looking for. And I know a lot of agents that are highly successful. Felicia Oldrive, who is here, she comes from a restaurant background.
Yeah.
Eric Alexander on my team, restaurant background. Adam, restaurant background. I mean, we could probably run through a list of a lot of people that all have a hospitality background.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I counted it up. Seven people, 7 members of our team were, some spot of the restaurant industry, whether it's, bartender, server, whatever,
Right.
managers. Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's a service, right? Buying and selling real estate. We always tell our agents, like, buying and selling real estate, it's a process. It's not an event.
Right.
It's not like you have to be, ready to rock and roll tomorrow if someone calls you up today. Now there's some cases where someone's going to make a quick decision, but for the most part, there's a process that goes into it. It's not like you're selling a cell phone where they leave the store and they're going to go somewhere else and get it from somewhere else, right? And if you can provide, like you said, the service and the roadmap. I like to say, hey, my job's to set you up on a path to success. So that way, when you find that property, the property's going to sell itself. When you find that property, then we're able to execute.
Right. Yeah.
And that's my job.
Right. And I would agree with you. Again, to me, it's service, service, service. and if you can bring that, and let's be honest, most realtors of the past haven't provided service.
Yeah.
They've provided a function, right? But they haven't really went beyond that and haven't serviced the client and taken care of them. And I was quick to go, man, the bar was pretty low, really, right? And the other side of real estate was, what can I excel at? What's going to cost me the least amount of money to get into, but can translate into greater wealth, so to speak. And real estate was that path for me. And I knew if I could learn it and then provide the service on top of it, then I would do well. And I use the restaurant analogies all the time. We've all been to the restaurant where the food's mediocre, subpar, but John, that waiter who was just on it, identifying things, able to read the guests, see that your kids are screaming, get them to quiet down. Hey, I got you. I know it's crazy, or it's your birthday, got you dessert. In constant touches and making you feel good.
Yeah.
You're gonna go back over and over and over. But
Yeah.
if you have great food and horrible service, the likelihood of you going back diminishes exponentially.
100%. 100%. We were out in Las Vegas, I guess 2 years ago, maybe, or maybe it was last year. And we went to some Italian restaurant. My wife will talk about this all the time. We were stuffed, the waitress comes up and says, "Hey, do you guys want dessert?" We're like, "Oh, no, we can't eat anymore." He ends up bringing out a cannoli for her, right? Just something simple like that, where like we and I'm sure if we go back to Vegas, which we probably will, we'll probably be hitting up that spot because of that experience and because of that service.
Yeah. I use Mitchell's Ocean Prime a lot. They have a waiter there named Ed McLaughlin, and every time we go in, "Hey, last time you were here, you had this. You want to try this time? Last time you enjoyed that." You're like, boom, like, and it's simple things, right? He takes notes, they keep notes, blah, 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 but it's just that little bit of extra effort that makes you go back because you know what you're going to get. There's that expectation, and they hit it out of the park every time. So
That's awesome.
no different in real estate, right? I mean, we've all had failures. I've looked back and seen somebody else do something, and I just shake my head, and I want to be mad at the client, and there's nobody to be mad at but myself.
But ourselves, yeah, you're exactly right. So you decide to just quit your job, and dive into real estate, and
had to figure out a financial path, right? I mean, it's quit. Well, then what am I going to do to live? And we all know real estate, it's not like you're going to get a check next week. So
right.
I made the decision. I actually had to go and beg for a job. I went to an interview dressed, in normal restaurant manager attire, and I went to interview at Pies and Pints at Easton, and the manager there was like, "Yeah, you're overqualified." And I was like, I understand that, but I literally just want to bartend. I mean, you're serving beer, you don't even have liquor. I mean, I can do this, right? And he's like, I don't know. And I said, well, and I actually made a deal with the guy. He finally, like 3 days before they were going to start this training, he said, I just worry that, you're going to kind of want to run the place. And I said, look, it's the last thing I want to do. I can build a business and build my clientele if you give me an opportunity. And he's sitting there thinking, I said, I'll make a deal with you. In 30 days, if I don't have clientele that come to see me and I've not built somewhat of a business, I will walk away quietly. And day 31, I walked up to him and said, "Hey, Tony." He said, "I guess I can." He said, "Get the fuck out of my face. I know what you're going to say." He said, "Get behind the bar." I said, "Okay." And I bartended for Pies and Pints for 4 years, for a while. I mean, in fact, my last year that I was there, last 2 years I was there, I did over 50 transactions each year as a solo agent, but was still working 3 to 4 nights a week at the bar.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, because I like it. I actually loved it. I had a great ownership, the guy who owned it, a great management team, and I was comfortable. But I built my book of business out of that restaurant too.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, people used to joke, "Hey, I'll come have a beer, and I'll have a beer and see you at the office." And that's what it was.
100%.